Welcome to In the Groove with Todd and Jackie, the podcast where good vibes meet great conversations and change makers take center stage.
Each week, we sit down with inspiring authors, impactful speakers, and visionary leaders who are making a difference in the world.
We're bringing you powerful insights, engaging stories, and actionable ideas to amplify your voice and spark meaningful change.
So get ready to get in the groove as we dive into conversations that uplift, inspire, and empower.
Todd is currently taking time away from the show as he focuses on his health and treatment. We sincerely appreciate your prayers, encouragement, and continued support during this time. While Todd focuses on his recovery, Jackie Bailey will continue hosting meaningful conversations with inspiring guests. Our commitment to sharing stories of hope, leadership, and positive impact remains unchanged. Thank you for being part of our community.
Hey everybody, Jackie Bailey here, and I'm excited today to be having a conversation with Shirley Sutton. Now, I don't know Shirley very well. In fact, this is our first official meeting, and I, like you, we're going to be learning together all about her and who she is and what her mission is. All I do know is that she is in Sydney, Australia right now, and she has a lovely accent. So Shirley, welcome to Speak, Feed, Lead Conversations with Jackie Bailey.
Hi, I'm excited to be here today. Thank you for having me.
Well, of course. I'm excited about just having a conversation with you, mostly about what your mission or purpose is, or what your soul's agenda is on the planet, and how you're accomplishing those types of things. And I learned a few minutes ago that you started off in the corporate realm of a career. So why don't we start there? What were you doing for corporate in a corporation, and how did that transition into what you're doing now?
So I've started in recruitment pretty much straight after university. So I started in recruitment agency, and then I moved in-house. And then there was, a point in my life where I was changing. There was just a lot of happening, and I did a neurolinguistic programming just to understand how things were. And I didn't think I was going to turn into a coaching business until later on. And I really found a lot of information in that neurolinguistic programming. And from there, it just felt like a lot of the stuff in my corporate life started to shift and move. And then I opened up my career coaching business, a very different one, 8 years ago, which was career transitioning. And then fast forward 8 years after, got promoted, moved into HR, ended up in a regional HR lead role. And from there, I just kind of started seeing a lot of similar patterns in different industries and things like that. And I then moved it into leadership career coaching, which is actually where I'm at today.
Okay. And so for a while there, it sounds like you were doing a side hustle, if you will.
Yeah.
So you were still working in corporate with your career, but then you were doing this side thing, starting to help people. Was it neurolinguistic programming that you were helping them with, or something else?
So I used NLP techniques when I did a career. So 8 years ago, it was about helping women get back in the workforce. So I called it Mom's Turn.
Okay.
And then I attracted, outside of, not necessarily moms. So I rebranded it into Your Turn Today. But it was really using the NLP techniques of, being aware, how you communicate, things like that, how to gain clarity, getting that confidence back. And I think as the years went on, I went back into corporate full time. I also used it in my role of HR because I was working, with many senior leaders by that time. And very similar to NLP. So, I designed a lot of learning and development programs using very similar techniques, even with sales stuff, because a lot of it's
Mm,
actually how we communicate. And really about actually today I do work with quite a few solopreneurs, very similar background to me, which from the corporate and then moving into their own businesses, which is actually just bringing back things that actually we want to do, minus the stuff that we need to fit in whatever corporate that we're working in.
yeah. And how's that going for you? I mean,
Yeah.
are you finding that this is really helpful for a lot of people?
Yeah, look, I have to say in the beginning it was obviously pretty tough because I thought I would just be coaching, you know. But that didn't really come until, months after when I actually converted some of some clients. But in the beginning it's almost like I learned a different skill set because I wanted to go into it because I wanted to help people,
Yeah.
actually get that satisfaction with what they do, right? Because sometimes when I do work with people, it doesn't mean you're going to change a job or you're going to open up your own, but it's actually finding that clarity that what you are doing with your time Monday to Friday, which is what most of us would do,
Hmm.
you're actually getting that satisfaction and you're still, utilizing your skills and you're getting that satisfaction at the end of the day. But as you know, Jackie, in the beginning, when you're starting your own, you're building your authority, you're, the marketing, you're selling it, like stuff that I didn't, I didn't actually, I didn't think would take up so much time,
Right.
until I can actually be like, oh my God, now I'm actually a leadership career coach. This is what I'm doing. But I still do a lot of the, the marketing or the administrative stuff that happens and goes with it. Because I don't have, it's a new business. I don't have a big team yet that I can be like, oh, can you do this accounts for me? Can you do this? Like I got
Yeah.
to do everything. So it feels like I actually learned a whole new different skill set starting my own business, and I don't think it's
Yeah.
something that I probably would have. I mean, I probably read about it when I was at university, but I probably, it's not until you're actually doing it that you're like, oh my God, this is what it was all about.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's fun. And you have to make it fun. If not, it'll be very hard to get out of bed every day.
Yeah. I find it's the application of the knowledge is where everything really starts to be real, right?
Yeah,
It's like I can learn in college this is how to start a business or this is how to do marketing or things like that. But until you actually start to apply it and it becomes about you and what you're sort of selling to the world, it's completely different than what you've learned, right? Um,
absolutely.
so are you still working in the corporate world? Have you left that entirely?
So I am still there, but it's probably the other way around now, where my
Mm,
full time is the coaching. So it's kind of reversed, where the other one is now the part time.
yeah.
Because I do enjoy that as well. I
Yeah.
do love being in the people and culture in that HR remit where you are making an impact in um, the organization, which then impacts, the people and
Yeah.
everything in that space. But probably not so much that in my previous roles where I was doing it full time, all the energy was there. So it's very hard to kind of step away from, all the stuff, all that, the so many restructures and all of that that's going on at the moment with technology changing. So I do feel like I have a good balance. So it's just now reversed.
Yeah.
And it's also for me to keep my skills updated, which is why I do love doing that part time. And
Yeah.
then yeah, I didn't think I would be able to reverse it actually.
Well, I would imagine being a recruiter and then being in HR, you have a very particular skill set or talent for identifying other people's characteristics, talents, and maybe even helping them to transition from one area using that talent to another as when people are transitioning to different careers and things like that. So I'm assuming that's come in pretty handy for you, and probably a big advantage that you have over some other types of coaches, right?
Yeah, and I really use that to my advantage because when I have the first conversation with people coming through, whether it be from a campaign or something, and they're like, I really want to progress. As long as it's not something that's totally outside of, as long as it's not like an accountant moving into like a surgeon or something like that. I
Yeah.
mean, it can be done, but it's
Yeah.
not something that you can kind of do in the next 6 to 12 months. So if the goal for that person is to have that, for me, 6 to 12 months is really short term. But when people do come to me and say, I want to earn more, and most of the time it's that,
Yeah.
which is why they want to move or open up a business or something, then I always a lot of people would say, should I pick up another course? And I always say no, because it will take you another 12 months and then you'll start at the bottom again, you
Mm.
know? Or maybe, some of them are even longer because majority of the time I work with managers that are working. So that 12-month course would probably double that time because you're doing it part-time and
Yeah.
I've seen people, it's like, I don't even want to do it anymore, I just wanted
Yeah.
like a promotion, but it's like, that's when I really help them. It's like, okay, what do people actually come to you for, initially? Because that's obviously, let's actually play on your strengths because a lot of that, what are the gaps, what are development that I need to, it's like, what about your strengths that you can really
Yeah.
hone in and
Yeah.
really, maximize that opportunity there.
Hello, everyone. This is Jackie Bailey of the famous duo In the Groove with Todd and Jackie. I am the founder and director of the Speak Feed Lead Project, a nonprofit. And one of my greatest passions is helping young people discover that their voice matters. Today's youth are growing up in a world filled with pressure, comparison, anxiety, and disconnection. When a child learns how to communicate with confidence, something powerful happens. They begin to believe in themselves differently. Through our youth programs, we help children and teens develop leadership, public speaking, emotional intelligence, storytelling, and meaningful conversation skills. Many of our students have gone on to speak on TEDx stages, giving keynote speeches, podcasting, competitions, workshops, and even leadership events. The greatest transformation, though, isn't the stage. It's watching a young person go from, I don't think I can, or I don't know what I have to say, to standing on a stage and speaking out loud, I know my voice matters. That changes lives. If you know a young person who could benefit from confidence, communication, and leadership coaching, we'd love to connect with you. Visit speakfeedlead.org to learn more and/or go to JackieBailey360.com. Thanks again for listening to In the Groove with Todd and Jackie. Well, so that's a good question, though, that you put out there is, what are you coming to me for? Right. So my next question for you is, how is it that you help clients? You do for them? What types of people are coming to you to ask for your help? And
Yeah.
then what does your program look like? Is it one-to-one coaching, or do you have workshops or whatever? So tell us a little bit about how you work with people.
So I do a lot of one-on-one coaching, but I'm seeing a need for it to be in a group where it can actually be, for example, your sales team, for example, or your leadership team. It'll be good for them to actually be singing from the same playbook, for example. So my one-on-one normally go for 3 months or 90 days. So that's really what I do specialize in is the one-on-one. But later on, I will be opening it up for group session so that the whole team can actually, so if you've got like a leadership team or something that, you want to elevate, then I think rather than just the one person, because I'm seeing quite a lot of that, it's like I'm upskilling just one, but it'll be good to actually put it back to the whole team so they can actually elevate together.
Yeah.
And, they're going through that. And also the one-on-ones that I'm working now. So a lot of them are in corporate or also the corporate looking to move into their own businesses, given that
Yeah.
a lot of them can see I've done that transition. And then the ones that I've got one-on-one now is actually opening it up to more than 3 months. So it can actually be for the whole year. Um, so that's the plan.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you have an example of someone you've worked with and how you've helped them transition from one thing to another or whatever it was that they came to you for?
Yeah, so I do have, so there's a few. So one that probably comes to mind is, okay, she's probably the one that is someone totally different, you know, working in banking,
Mm.
and not exactly loving it, but obviously very, 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 very good in what they do.
Yeah.
Um, but I also knew that she's very smart, like, really big brained type of a person. So she did go into an accelerated course and
Mm.
moved into, um, she loves working with children. So she did get her certification and things like that and moved into childcare. And the plan is to have her own, but
Mm.
to open up a childcare, there's so many licensing and stuff like that. But she
Yeah.
did actually transition. But a lot of the times where she was always like, I'm good in maths. I just don't know if I can work with like the kids all day. So she already had that limiting belief that she can't do it. And I'm like, well, you've got all of the, if you're going to be starting your own business later on, she already has the business knowledge, but just not really, putting that into practice. So once you get this and then you'll be able to move and certify it in a different industry, then what you're already doing now in the corporate, you can actually take that in there. So it's not like she's starting totally from scratch.
Right. But
Yeah.
a big jump. Jump in
Yeah.
the difference of mindset and everything she's doing every day, right?
Yeah. So it was really like I did a lot of, different kind of assessments and exercises, but after the fifth or
Yeah.
sixth, it's like, you know, but that's it, right? Because she's probably not really dealing with that. She's like in
Right.
spreadsheets all day, like all of that. And, she really wants, I have a teenager now. So I can't even think about, so many little kids in the one room. So I was really painting that picture. I'm like, you've
Right.
got one child and a little bit older. I'm like, can you imagine like so many little people? Like I was really kind of making her visualize that.
Yeah.
Like, are you prepared for it? Because the moment you sign up for that accreditation. But it just got clearer and clearer that she wanted that, And I
Yeah.
think it was also a lot of underlying stuff like um, being an only child.
Mm.
And, when they moved to Australia, it's like she just sees all of the, a very, very different world. And a lot of that actually, it's like she wanted to be part of that big kind of, little kids always hugging you, all of that. But
Right.
I have to also remove my own experience of, because I'm very different. I come from such a big family. I'm like one of like 45 cousins, for example, so I was
Yeah.
always like so many
Wow.
people. Whereas I just wanted to be like, I want my own quiet space where she's the opposite.
Yeah.
So I needed to make sure that I wasn't projecting that on her. It's like, do you not want your quiet space? No, but she wanted a whole big, fiesta
Wow.
around her. So
Wow.
yeah.
Cool.
It was
Now,
actually really,
so I can see then how your recruitment and your HR background can help in the actual transition to a different type of work. But I'm curious about how the NLP knowledge that you have now, how do you apply that? And before you answer that, it might be a good idea. I mean, most people are aware of what NLP is, and it's kind of a common term these days. But if you could just take a moment to explain in the best way that you can, describe what NLP is, and then if you could tell me how you use that in addition to your HR and recruitment skill set to help someone mentally change,
Yeah.
mind shift into something new.
So NLP, for the neuro, so your brain, and then linguistic is the language. So, and then the programming is actually how your brain responds to the linguistics or the, whatever it is, is it actually, are you someone who can visualize if someone's talking to you, or do you need to hear it more? Are you more of an audio person? I know I'm a very audio person, hence I love podcast, probably more than reading books.
Yeah.
Um, and also, so a lot of the time, so new linguistic programming is really how you respond to stuff from how you were programmed from when you were a child. So going back to that particular client where, she really responds to, whatever it was from her growing up, being an only child, versus me, who comes from, I'm one of three siblings. So I respond to stuff very differently. I respond to, chaos quite quickly. But I also know later on that I do want that quietness. It's just the whole, the whole programming of my brain to that certain scenario. And so a lot of the times, the whole linguistic side of things is I make people, do an assessment of their own communication style. So you know
Mhm.
what you are. Um, and, so are you like a, dominant? Are you an inspiring person, steady or compliant? So if you know which one you are, and then you can identify how the other person communicates, then you can actually find that middle ground. So I know I can be quite short form direct, for example. So I know that when I'm talking to someone who loves compliance, then they would actually, that works quite well. But if
Yeah.
I'm talking to someone who's very big picture, then I also know to adjust it that, they probably need a little bit more context, or I probably need to be very precise. If not, I'm going to get a very, very long-winded answer.
Mm-hmm.
And so how I really make that play is, once you know those basics, is really listen out to a lot of like the generalization that people use. Like, oh, I could never do that. It's like, how do you know you can never do it? Has it been proven? Or, oh, everyone does this. And like the different types of things that people don't really realize that they do, but it's because it's what they're used to, and actually
Mm-hmm.
challenging, your brain on how to reframe stuff differently. So it's really about, what the brain triggers. So for example, if your brain doesn't hear the word don't, so don't go to kids, don't run, for example, because chances are they will run for their lives, so it should really
Right.
be. And that was really something that I had to train myself, because when my son was little, I'll be like, don't run. It's actually walk only. So it's
Mm.
just very different.
Yeah,
And
because
it's
our
just
brains
those.
tend to hear the last thing that's said, right? We remember the last thing that's said rather than everything that came before it, right?
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
really does link to all these different practices like manifestation, all of that. Because if you say, for example, can you see a red car, Jackie? Then all of a sudden, all you'll be seeing a lot is you'll notice all the red car. And I think it
Mm-hmm.
really does play into a lot of that, what you put in your brain and stuff like that.
Yeah.
When you set goals for yourself. So I really do play on that. I really pull that out, but without actually naming the techniques. Because if someone, I don't want them to think as well that a lot of people will be like, oh, I don't want to be like hypnotized or something. It's like, no, I'm just
Right.
actually, there's so many different techniques in the NLP, and I just, depending on who it is that I'm dealing with and where I need to get them from A to B, then I just actually really use them. But a lot of the times
Mm.
it's based on the communication, how we talk to ourselves, and really understanding that, So
Yeah.
I'll use that particular lady where she had a lot of limiting beliefs. And then it was really understanding, it's like, what's the worst that can happen? Okay, if you leave this and you're no longer getting, you can always go back to that. You can always,
Right.
so a lot of that actually is just how you train yourself, and then you reframe, it's really helping people reframe how they look at things.
Yeah. It sounds like it's a way for us to understand ourselves better and then talk differently to ourselves internally to bring out the best in
Yeah,
ourselves, right? To pull out the best
absolutely.
parts. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So how are you getting your message out, Shirley? Are you speaking to audiences? I know you're doing the one-to-one coaching. Do you have a book that you've put out into the planet or working on something like that? How are you getting your message out to the world?
I don't have a book yet, but stay tuned because I do write a lot of articles. I talk about a lot about, authority shift and personal branding when you're moving from one role to the other. So I'm compiling a lot of that. And I like to, just take my time on that. But writing a book takes up a lot of time, as you know.
Yeah. Yes.
Um, so a lot of the articles and a lot of the stuff that I do, I post it out on LinkedIn, and my website. So, and then the group ones will also be on my newsletter and also my LinkedIn page, which is actually my main channel that I direct people.
Yeah, well, that's a great segue then to ask, how do people get in touch with you? So if there's a website, or if you want to give your LinkedIn handle or other ways that they can reach you on social media, this would be a great time for you to share that with our audience.
So my LinkedIn, you can find me, Shirley Sutton on LinkedIn, or, I also have the Ascendly career coaching page there. And yeah, you can also visit my website, which is ascendly.online.
Okay. So what would you say is your main mission? If you had to like boil it down into one word, what would you say you want to do, or what's your aspiration right now?
So for me, it's really, I'd really like to help as many people reach their potential. It can't be everyone, because not everyone also wants the help. But I
Right.
think, our career and our business is such a big part of our life. We are really in there. Um, I mean, contracts say, I'm in Australia anyway, it's like, 38 hours a week or something, but we really are there for most of our lives, right?
Mm.
Monday to Friday, and then some more. But if we're at least doing, if we're all, if I can just help people get the most out and satisfaction in their career, then, um, I think that's probably what I would say would be my purpose of why I moved into this direction. It
Good.
was a very long answer, not a one word.
No, that's great. I mean, I appreciate what you're doing very much because especially during the pandemic, and I know we are so tired of talking about that,
Mm,
but it was a pivotal point for a lot of people in their careers when they started realizing, and I was never happy with what I was doing. Well, what could I do differently if I really wanted to be happy with my life? What could I do differently? And so there were a lot of transitions taking place in the lives of many people. And I know that it's helpful to bounce ideas off of somebody, to have someone like you who is there to say, okay, well, let's take a look at this aspect of it, or let's look at this a little bit differently and make sure that we're clear on this is you understand this is what your new choice would be, what would actually look like. So I think it's great what you're doing. But you said something about 38 hours a week. So I have a question about that. In Australia, what's a typical full-time job? Is it 38 hours? Because here in the US, it's 40 or
yeah,
more, but a little bit less in
yeah,
Australia.
yeah. So the legislation is 7.5 hours a day. So what is that? 30,
Oh,
38.
okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
so it's in most people's contracts. So depending on what industries, obviously, if you're already in a professional industry,
Yeah.
there's none of that overtime stuff. But for some like hospitality, so that's actually when it actually kicks in is when you have
Yeah.
Yeah, overtime, but it's actually in the legislation, 7.5 hours per day.
No wonder most of the Australians I know seem to be really happy people.
Oh,
They have more of a personal life than us Americans do.
but business owners though don't have, if you
Well,
don't
that's
work,
true.
then
That's true. It's
nothing
24/7 when you're a
comes.
business owner, right? It's just, there's
Yeah,
just,
we have
you're
no
never really
contracts.
off the clock. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Shirley, it was really nice to meet you. I'm so glad we had this opportunity. And I know that that book is going to come out sometime soon, and I will be excited to hear about that. And, if you were to speak on what you do and get in front of an audience, who would that audience be most likely? Would it be women? Is that who you work with most?
No, so mine
No.
would be, managers moving
Okay.
to more of a senior leadership roles,
Got it.
or, really professional corporate professionals starting their own business.
Yeah. And do you have those types of opportunities to speak? Because it seems like to me, so many speakers who are out of the corporate world have a hard time getting back into the corporate world as a speaker, which, is typically pays well, as a speaker, but you're still in it. So there might be opportunities for you to actually, or might advantages to you, I should say, to actually speak in a corporate setting. Have you done any of that?
No, I do have a couple on the pipeline, which I am, I'm really grateful for the opportunities, but now it's a matter of fitting them in.
Yeah.
But yes, I think more of that is actually, it's definitely something that I would like to do more
Yeah.
because I do feel that, a lot of people get scared, getting out of that, corporate, getting out of that stability and then starting your own. But, I'm someone, an ordinary person that was able to transition from that. And a lot
Hmm.
of it is, going back to that, your mindset and really just working through that.
Yeah.
Because it's a very different drive when you're on your own. Like my advice is you just do it.
Yeah.
Is yeah.
Yeah. I know you kind of leave that into a new realm thinking, I'm going to have all this freedom and no one to answer to, and I'll, work when I want to and not work when I don't. But in reality, you have to be as disciplined when you are a business owner, when you're working self-employed in a self-employed situation, you have to be as disciplined as you were going to a particular job every day. You have to get up at the same time in the morning. You have to dress like you're professional and ready to roll. And I mean, I find that that's true. If I take
Yeah.
it too lightly, then it's really easy to fall out of the habit and, not really stay focused on what your mission is, what you want to accomplish. So, uh,
Absolutely. Like
but
if you want to
again,
have
it's
it's really it's such a, mindset shift because it's like
yeah,
if you don't do your own invoice, who's gonna no
right.
one's gonna send it out, no one's gonna send it
Exactly.
out for me. So yeah, I think
Exactly.
a lot of that actually, overcoming that, fear of what will actually happen when I do it on
Yeah.
my own, is, I really guide people, through that because it can it's doable.
Yeah. Well, and that's another reason that I appreciate what you're doing because it would be so nice to just have someone hold you accountable to those things, those administrative things that you don't always think of when you start a business because you know what your mission is, you know what you want to accomplish, you set some goals for yourself, you know who your audience is or who your clients are, but you don't think about all the little things that have to happen so that the big things can happen, right?
Yeah,
So anyway,
I hear
so
you.
I
Yeah.
appreciate that a lot. All right. Well, Shirley, thank you so much again for being here. It was a great conversation with you. And I know that our audience would benefit by knowing you and working with you if they're in a transitionary state or want to move from management to directorship or something like that, whatever they're thinking about. Having someone like you having their back or being on their side is would be a blessing and an advantage. So it was nice to speak with you today, and I'm sure that you've benefited our audience just by hearing what you're doing. So is there any last word you'd like to say before we depart?
No, I think if you have an idea, is no one, just do it yourself. Like, don't wait for someone to actually give you that permission. Is just give yourself permission to start today, like now.
Yeah.
Like stop waiting, and then just get started.
Good advice. Yeah. Don't wait. If your burning desire is to do something more than what you're doing, figure out how to do it. Make it happen now.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, Shirley. Well, best of luck
Thank
to
you so much.
And I'll look forward to watching you as your career expands and you help more people. And maybe one of these days I'll get to Sydney. I'd love to.
Yeah.
I'd love to visit someday. I've not been to Australia, but it's definitely on the list.
You love it.
All right. All right. Well, everyone else, thanks for tuning in today. Hope you enjoyed our conversation, and we'll see you again soon. Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us for today's conversation. As Todd continues to focus on his health and recovery, we appreciate your continued support and encouragement. We look forward to having him back when the time is right. Until next time, keep leading, keep growing, and keep making a positive difference.
That's a wrap for this episode of In the Groove with Todd and Jackie, where good vibes meet great conversations and changemakers take center stage.
We hope you've been inspired by today's guest and are ready to bring more positivity, connection, and impact into your world.
If you love this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs a little groove in their life.
And don't forget to check us out on toddandjackie.com for more great conversations.
Until next time, keep shining, keep grooving, and keep making a difference.